Hey guys, today I come to talk about a hotly discussed topic that I see a few times a day on stream or in the Dream Grove or wherever. The topic that I plan on discussing today is balance good, viable, and most importantly fun? There's a lot of depth that comes into this topic, and while it is opinion based at the end of the day, I'll try to back up all my opinions in order for everybody to see where I'm really coming from with my assessments. This will be less of a numbers and figures video, more of an opinion and feel video. If you have differing opinions or something that you think I should have touched on a little bit more, let me know down in the comments. And then with that said, let's just jump into the video. So first off, is balance viable? So the short answer is, of course, really any class is viable, every class is viable. And then breaking down into the deep discussion of is it viable, it starts at the root of the question. I think generally the question is asked about Moonkin being viable when people are specifically referring to Moonkin's ability to get brought to do competitive content. The question on viability encompasses many things like utility, damage, and external factors, sometimes like personal loot, which hunters are pretty suffering heavily from right now. This question normally comes from like a place, in my opinion, of fear or anxiousness in which players are worried that the class's performance will inhibit their own play so much that they'll begin to like fail trials or not get raid spots or get declined from pugs or get declined from a Mythic Plus group for whatever reason. Community opinion about classes is very strong and honestly goes beyond the bounds which it should for many reasons. There's no real reason that, I don't know, a 255 Shadow Priest should ever get declined from any 15 dungeon just because he's playing Shadow Priest. Like, Shadow Priest is not great at Mythic Plus, but they're well more equipped than, I don't know, a 230 Flavor of the Month class, Windwalker Monk or whatever. But the community's opinion has like a really heavy trickle-down effect because the higher end of players make this perception of Shadow Priest being like unplayably bad in Mythic Plus, so it makes other players believe that Shadow Priest is unplayably bad. So when I believe people generally are asking, is Moonkin viable? They're asking, like, will Moonkin be desirable to bring to X content, Mythic Plus, Raid, PvP, blah 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 blah, right? Balance Druid and all classes in general at the end of the day are balanced so closely to the point of viability. So even if they're not the best class, they are viable in the most like literal sense of the term. Community perception is honestly impossible to predict, though. And honestly, as long as you're having fun with Moonkin, the damage will be close enough, under most circumstances, to not be inhibiting towards you. Blizzard's done a really good job during the course of Legion to make sure that all classes are tuned closely enough and aligned that if you would prefer to play one of the bottom classes, what were they in Legion? Demonology, Warlock, Elemental Shaman, whatever. If you wanted to play some of those classes at the end of the day, you are able to. Even though they are like worse in damage-wise, you are able to play them, but you are taking a hit, like because the community's perception of these classes is so skewed that you might struggle more and more. But at the end of the day, playing the class that you enjoy is far more important, and will make any class viable more so than you playing one of these Flavor of the Month classes. That being said, Moonkin has very rarely been in a spot where it is bad and not viable, because it does bring like unique utilities and all these like nuanced things that the Druid class itself brings. So Moonkin is fairly viable in terms of like, will it be brought to raid? Answer's probably. You probably want like 1 Moonkin, 2 Moonkin, 3 Moonkins or whatever. You're probably not stacking them. They're not like that good. They're not like Rogue or Mage level good, but they are pretty good. But unfortunately, they don't have an immunity, so it's like whatever. Alright. So with that said, now it's time to move on to the next subject. The next subject is like another really commonly asked question. Is Balance Druid good? Similar to the viability question, good is pretty subjective and changes frequently. Generally when this question is asked, people are wondering if Balance Druid does a lot of damage or is one of the Flavor of the Month / Fodom classes. My personal opinion on the matter is that Balance Druid is good enough to be brought to raid if the players of the caliber to make it worth being brought to raid. With that said, pure DPS classes such as Rogue, Mage, Warlock, and Hunter will generally almost always outperform Moonkin because they have multiple classes to be able to choose from. And they also have many forms of utility and many specs of damage that Balance just does not have access to, as it is only one class or one spec, right? This doesn't make Moonkin a bad class, and this doesn't like really prove an argument. But for like very rare occasions of splits or like comp options, I'm almost always going to be playing Moonkin, as my play on Moonkin is significantly superior to any play that I will ever have on like an all, which is unfortunate for me. But at the same time, as long as you're performing to a high enough standard on your main class, whether that be Moonkin or whatever else, right? As long as you're having fun and you're performing to a standard that you deem as successful and your raid group deems as useful, then you will be brought and your class is, quote, good, right? I was in the upper end of DPS on our original Argus kill, just as a point of reference. Balance is trash-ass awful at Argus, and I probably should have been playing Mage if I had a Mage, right? But for most guilds and most players, like, stuff like class design and class balance will never be inhibitingly bad, so you really should not worry about that, especially when you're considering what to play. You should focus on like what is fun, and that will yield you better results in the long term. So really just play what makes you happy. Don't worry about performance. Your individual performance is far, 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 far more important than the specs performance or whatever else. That being said, Balance, I believe Balance is going to be pretty good in Uldir, right? I think that some of the fights are designed very well for them. I don't think they're going to be stacked. Like, I don't think you're bringing 4 Moonkins to a raid. I think you probably bring 2 max. But at the same time, I do believe Balance is good in Uldir, and I believe if it is tuned properly, then it will be incredibly good in Uldir. And so then lastly, the final topic is Balance fun. I love Balance. I find it fun. What I find fun about Balance might definitely be different than what other people enjoy in a class, so I'll kind of lay out what I find enjoyable in Balance. Maybe you'll find something that you enjoy from what I'm saying, but like if you don't, obviously there's nothing wrong with that, right? So what I've lately been finding fun about Balance is generally they're good at Mythic Plus. The spec is just designed in a way that is good at Mythic Plus. The utility of Typhoon, Solar Beam, whatever else is just really, really strong at Mythic Plus. That, in conjunction with the consistent AoE damage from Starfall and Dots, makes us a very strong Mythic Plus class. Point and simple. I really like Mythic Plus. This is like a pretty good reason for me to like Mythic Plus. Balance is pretty good at Mythic Plus. I find Balance fun because of that. Nextly, lots of utility. They don't have an immunity, which kind of sucks, right? It's like, man, that kind of blows. But it does have large amounts of unique utility. Just some of the notable ones. Trent's really good for Mythic Plus. Typhoon, like really, really good situationally. Entangling Roots / Mass Entangling, also very, very strong situationally. Some fights are make or break over Mass Entangling. Solar Beam is disgustingly strong whenever it's able to silence mobs. What else is good? Innervate. I mean, like Healer Mana was pretty memey in Legion, but Innervate's like still pretty good. And then like Soothe and Hibernate. Like Hibernate's not the most useful spell, but Soothe, the De-Enrage, like the Enrage Dispel is like really, really, really strong. We'll see a lot of use in Mythic Plus. I mean, I'm sure there will be a boss where you have to Soothe something too. I mean, it's bound to happen. So Soothe is going to be pretty useful as well. So I like the fact that it has lots of utility and lots of control. The class itself does bring lots of control in this form of utility. The next thing is gameplay is pretty smooth. There's no really true cast sequence. So like the gameplay, this revolves around like my cast sequence. So it's never really a sequence. It's more like a priority list. I like look. I'm like, oh, do I need to refresh dots? Oh, do I have empowerments? Oh, am I close to capping astral power? Probably not in that order because I'm supposed to check astral power first. But like you get the point. It's not like I'm just jamming Frostbolt until I get a Fingers of Frost proc or whatever, like mages or anything else, right? It's not just like a rotation. It's a priority list, and I'm hitting my priority buttons and I'm making decisions, and it rewards you having forethought over just like smacking the rotation, generally speaking, too. Like using your cooldowns and utilizing them well is very good. And then just having forethought about movement. Like minimizing downtime is one of the biggest things that's ever going to change your damage, and being able to sit there and cast for the longest period of time as possible will change your damage for the better. Always, 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 always. Will make you a better player. That's the biggest thing that I see whenever I'm reviewing logs. It's like, oh, why am I doing bad damage? Like 99% of the time, it's oh, you're just not casting enough. And it's like hard to tell that to people, that they're just not casting enough, that they need to just like plant their feet and cast more. And it's hard to do too. Like occasionally you just are uncomfortable with the spec because you're new to it and you just can't cast. So I mean, I think the gameplay's pretty smooth and I find it fun, but I mean, if you don't find it fun, then it's hard to ask you to play something that you don't find fun. Um, and then my last thing that I find fun about Balance is the community. I love the Balance community as a whole. That's why I'm modding the Dream Grove. That's why I'm writing stuff for Wowhead. That's why I'm making these videos even. Like I find the Balance community fun, and I'm enjoying participating in it, being a part of it, being a figurehead of it of sorts. It's kind of odd to say, right? I'm enjoying it. I love the community, and I mean those are all the things that I find fun about Balance, and there are many other things I find fun about Balance. Uh, as long as you're finding something fun about Balance, and you find Balance fun, then you're doing it right. I mean, just enjoy playing WoW. At the end of the day, that's all that matters, right? So overall, I think people get in their own headspace about classes being bad, or not being viable, or not being fun, or whatever. And honestly, you should just focus on what you find fun. If that's pushing world first rating, then I'd probably recommend having many classes, right? If you just want to have fun, log in after work every day or whatever, that's cool. If Moonkin is the class for you, then great. If not, it really doesn't matter at the end of the day as long as you're enjoying yourself, right? Play Priest, play Elemental Shaman, play Enhance. Like, doesn't matter like what you play as long as you're having fun. Then that's all that matters at the end of the day. And that's the core root of this argument is like, as long as you're having fun, nothing else really matters. So, thank you everybody for watching. If you'd like to see more content like this, make sure to subscribe. I'm going to put my Twitch, Discord, and Patreon down in the description, so make sure to check that out. Hope everybody else has a great day. Thanks, guys.